It's official. They're the worst team in the league. They being the Jacksonville Jaguars by losing to the lowly New York Jets 26-21 in East Rutherford, New Jersey. I have more on that and the direction the team needs to go in just a second here on the Monday edition of Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jags, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's going on, man? We thank you for making us your first listen here on Locked On Jaguars. I am Tony Wiggins, your host of the Locked On Jaguars Daily Podcast. There's really not too much else to say about the Jaguars other than the fact that they have cemented themselves as a team who is deserving of the number one overall pick because they are just that bad. They lose yesterday in a game that pretty much could have gone either way, and it almost did down the stretch. They lose 26-21 to the New York Jets. The Jags were on the 1 yard line with a few shots at it. And just like bad teams do, they find a way to do bad things and not actually do the good things, from whether it's spiking the ball on third down, a running play that took 15, 20 seconds off the clock, a couple of plays or a possession or two during that same possession, but a couple of plays leading up to the drive down the field. Not tackling Zach Wilson early in the game, guys giving up on plays. Just if you'd have looked at some of the statistics early in the game, the Jaguars at halftime, they hadn't given up a lot of points, yards through the air, penalties, sacks. But yet still, they found themselves to be down 13-12. And to be honest with you, the Jets actually tried on a couple of occasions. Ron Middleton, former Jaguars assistant coach, who was the interim coach because of Robert Saleh's absence, the Jets tried to give the game away. The Jets probably left 13 points on the board just trying to give the game away to Jacksonville, whether it was going for 2-point conversions, fake field goals, not actually going for field goals and actually trying to score touchdowns. Middleton was really coaching like he was coaching Madden, man. Like he didn't, like we're gonna just throw everything out there. So in any event, the Jaguars fall. They're gonna be heavily underdogs, heavy underdogs in the last two games against both the Patriots and the Colts, who have something to play for and who are just better. So they're gonna basically be 2-15. They're gonna tie a franchise record for the most losses in a season, which is 15. That would mean that they would be 3-30 over the last 2 years. And literally nothing improved this year. If you take away all of the bad things that did happen to this team once they hired Urban Meyer, and that was considered a good thing at the time, depending on who you ask. I'm one of them. Having all of this draft capital and all of this enthusiasm, the team did not even improve. Nothing. There's nothing you could say other than the fact that at least now that they have a strong arm quarterback who they're willing to move with into the future. But this team actually did not get any better. No one that Urban bought into that building actually influenced this team to get beyond where they were when Doug Marrone was let go. Nothing happened. Those things that you would expect that would happen, even if Urban wasn't great, that he'd add him or whatever his influence is, would add something to advance what was a really bad situation that they took over, a 1-15 team. Did not happen. And that's the point, and that's the part that it's like when I used to always talk about here on this podcast, these wasted years. Like wasted, yeah, really, what wasted years are. And this call for everyone to always want to be patient. Like, patience is something that you exercise, but it's not something that you put out in front that you're supposed to live by. Because it's almost an oxymoron, really, when you're talking about performance. You exercise patience with the performance that you get, but you don't preach patience in terms of the performance that you expect. Because if you do that, you never get anywhere. And there are too many people that, and ironically, they get upset every time one little thing doesn't go their way. That always talk about, we got to be patient. You got to be patient, and you got to be careful with saying that you're going to be patient or that this takes a while. Um, you can ask people for their them patiently understanding the fact that it's going to be a minute. But you can't afford to have that in your attitude if you're the one who has to put the performance on the field. You need to be playing like you're desperate. You need to coach like you're desperate and have patience with your own results, right? And we can have patience with what we expect. But there's sometimes patience can be a detriment. I think a little bit of that was this year. I think there were people that were willing to be patient, and Urban Meyer said, "Nope, we're trying to win now. We're good enough to do it now. We're good." And I think what he was trying to do was preach that belief into his players. The problem is with Urban, and the problem is with this year is winning on a football field isn't about what you say. How many times have we heard guys who played the game say, "Anybody worry about all that rah-rah stuff?" No, you got to do it. You have to know how to execute. You have to be bigger, stronger, faster, and have a plan. And the Jaguars simply, you could tell when they came out of training camp, the red flag of that very first preseason game was they did not have a plan. I think the plan was, let's see what we got. Remember Dave Caldwell took over that first year when they had Blaine Gabbert and Mike Mularkey? And it was, okay, let's see what we got before we nuke everything, right? You see all of these things. You see, that's 2 years. So that's like 10 years ago was when Shad first bought the team. So that's 2 years, 20% of the time that this team, and really I go even further. I'd say last year was a wasted year because they gutted the team. So the 10 years he's taken over, the first year they came in, that's the even if he's released stuff and going with Blaine Gabbert and Mike Mularkey for one more year because Wayne gave him all contract extensions and all of that. So let's wait and see what we got. So you fire the coach after the first year, then you go get your guy. And then these last 2 years, that's 3 out of 10 years. That's 30%. We can't even get people to save 30% of their money, but that's 30% of, let's just see, let's be patient. Let's see what we got. Let's build it for the feet. They didn't want nobody. There wasn't nobody around here. The Mike Mularkey year, 2-3 years later, there wasn't that many people on this team from then. All right. How many guys are on here from last year? You mean to tell me CJ Henderson, Caleb Vaughn, all of these guys, Clay Brooks, all of these dudes, ain't none of those dudes like the dudes, right? CJ's gone. You ain't building this team based on none of those cats, right? LaVisca, are you kidding me? All of those dudes from 2020. So now we got this whole other year. You got Trevor, you got Tyson Campbell, but you didn't play Cisco, you didn't play the Walker Little. Jordan Smith hadn't seen the field. None of the free agents. Agnew's a good return guy, but Marvin Jones ain't the answer. Jahad White, he's gone after probably a year. Jahad Ward, what's the kid's name? Shaq, solid player, but he ain't no number one corner. Rashawn Jenkins, he's hurt now, but I don't think he was necessarily the answer. Roy Robertson Harris ain't the next Calais Campbell, regardless of how we want to spend. So in 30% of the 10 years that Shad is on the team, we've done nothing. I mean, absolutely. I ain't even talking about those other years. I'm talking about those years. And why am I talking about those years? Because those years was the beginning of something new, right? So the beginning of with Mike Mularkey was the beginning of the that era. That ended after 1 year, and then you had Gus. And then, oh, by the way, we ain't want to mention that whole first draft with them, with Cyprian and Joko, and like 3 years later, none of those guys are around. So that's 40%, right? If you take 40% out of anything, you left with 60%. And that 60% has to be great in order for you to be above average. We look at this as an entire lump. I look at it as a series of 1 year mistakes. What do they have to do now? This is why this is so important. In 2020, they gutted the team because they knew they were going to start over. They started over and they didn't get any better. It's 2 straight years, nothing good happened. So if you're going to start it over again this year, what do we have to do to get it right? What do we have? Some of it's the same stuff now. Some of it ain't like they on textbook, they went like off the reservation. They actually tried to do things a certain way. How do we have confidence that they're going to get it right? That's going to come first. How do we have the confidence that they're going to get it right? And then what is it that they actually need to do? I'm going to talk about all that stuff today here on Locked On Jaguars in just a second. I know we're right in the middle of the holidays between Christmas and between New Year's, and you're still trying to get your energy level right. Some of y'all trying to get back in the gym and work off some of that holiday food. But you don't need you starve yourself of good food and good snacks and good taste. How about something that's covered in 100% chocolate with several flavors? My personal favorite is the salted caramel. And it gives you the feeling that you're eating a candy bar, but you're really not eating the best protein bar in the world. And that would be Built Bar. I'm telling you, man, Built Bar is the absolute cold truth. Built Bar has all of these great flavors. They're covered with 100% chocolate. The macros are off the chain because they're packed with protein, very little sugar, very little calories, very little carbohydrates. And you're able to eat them without guilt or shame. All you got to do is go to built.com and use the promo code LOCK15, and you're going to get 15% off of your order. Now, it's not chalky and waxy like a lot of these protein bars. It actually has the texture of a candy bar. It's very chewy. It tastes very, very good. And I get a lot of compliments on the packaging. People act like you can eat the paper. You can't, but I still get a lot of compliments on them. And you can do the same. Like I said, go to built.com, use the promo code LOCK15, and you'll get 15% off of your order. All right, we're going to keep it pushing along here on a Monday. Jags fall 26-21 to the New York Jets, who were missing like 17, 18 people. They're missing a head coach. Some people were texting me saying that the head coach looked like me. I do not look like Ron Middleton, but if I thought he was a guy who looked like a monster, I would definitely come back on you and talk about you and your mama. But I ain't going to do that, But people like, Wig, you coaching on the sideline today. I said, all right, big sturdy guy with a salt and pepper beard. That's pretty cool. But no, jokingly, man. We got to find something around here to joke about and break this the way that we feel up. We got to do it, man, because the team hasn't really given us reason to be in a celebratory mood. There's a lot of stuff out on the World Wide Web and the internet and all of that stuff talking about the coach. And they need to hire this coach because this coach understands quarterbacks and he's good with Trevor. And I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna give you guys some reasons that you can argue against anything. I'm gonna show you how you can argue against any argument. So everybody's talking about Nathaniel Hackett, right? And Nathaniel Hackett might be a really good coach. And Aaron Rodgers swears by Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett was here with Blake Bortles, and he couldn't change Blake Bortles. So you have to ask yourself, if he didn't make Blake Bortles better, why would you expect him to make Aaron Rodgers worse when Aaron Rodgers was a Hall of Fame quarterback before Nathaniel Hackett even walked into so, and I'm not saying that he's not good for the coaching job. I'm just saying be careful of what you point to as your validation for saying that he's good with coaches. Jim Caldwell. I've heard enough stuff about Jim Caldwell where I totally believe it. But then people talk about Matthew Stafford and his lack of progression and can't win a playoff game. And Jim Caldwell was Matthew Stafford's coach for an awfully long time. So just because a guy has coached and been around Peyton Manning and been around guys that put up numbers, what makes you think that they're a good developer of quarterbacks for guys that are like first ballot Hall of Famers and super? It's like saying, okay, whoever was Barry Sanders' running backs coach was a smart guy. He might have been, but you don't know that. Barry Sanders probably been running and shaking people. I bet his mama couldn't catch him to change his pamper when he was small. He was shaking the whole family. We love to just automatically take a guy who's been around a guy and think that that guy is going to be a good head coach when what he did around those guys is not something that he's going to do as the head coach. Perfect example. Brian Schottenheimer called plays yesterday. Why? Because Darrell Bevell said, I need to turn that over to him so I can do the other things that head coaches do. Head coaches do not sit around and coddle quarterbacks. They communicate with quarterbacks. Who was Peyton Manning's head coach for the majority of his career? It was Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy played quarterback in college, but Tony Dungy busted his chops as a defensive coordinator in the NFL. Who was Tom Brady's head coach for most of his career? Yeah, you got it. Bill Belichick, defensive coach. Who was Troy Aikman's coach? Yep, you got it. Jimmy Johnson, defensive line coach by trade. I mean, we sometimes I think we start saying stuff just to say it. Who's Russell Wilson's head coach? Pete Carroll, defensive coordinator. What about Cam Newton? He was an MVP. Ron Rivera. You get me? Y'all starting to feel it now? When Matt Ryan won the MVP and went to the Super Bowl, who was it? Dan Quinn. Tua Tagovailoa, he's turned it around and had a pretty good year this year. Who's his coach? Flores, defensive coach. So when we do that, I want to make sure that we're doing it and we're doing it with proper understanding instead of just not getting the point that when you hire a guy right now that's an assistant head coach or an offensive coordinator, he's not going to be coddling your quarterback. It depends on who he hires as the coordinator and the quarterback's coach, whether or not your quarterback can be developed properly. Now, I will say this. For Jim Caldwell and guys like that, what they have done is they've been around and they've seen the organizational structure and what happens when you have a franchise quarterback and the things that they know he needs in order to be successful. Caldwell around Dungy, things like that. I'm just sitting here thinking that folks are thinking that this is going to be a Pep Hamilton situation where it seems like everywhere Pep Hamilton go. Look at that kid in Houston right now. That's Pep Hamilton. And you know where Pep Hamilton was quarterback's coach before? With the Chargers, with Herbert, who had a better year last year than he's having now. And he was out there for a number of years, I think, with Philly Rip, Pep Hamilton. And then before that, he was over here with the Colts with Peyton Manning. So yeah, you want to talk about a dude that has hands on with a quarterback? Yeah, it's Pep Hamilton. But are they going to make him an offensive coordinator? Do you know if he can call plays? Are you going to, is he going to make a lateral move? Is he going to be out of a job when somebody takes over the job in Houston? And can you bring Pep Hamilton here to be the quarterback's coach? Does he get stuck in that role forever or what? But when people keep naming these coaches and then they say, well, he was associated with this guy. He said, okay, when he's the head coach, he's not going to be doing what he did then. He's not going to be what he was as an assistant. This is why a lot of people want a head coach that has experience, like a Jim Caldwell. I think it's a good move. Because I do think with Jim Caldwell, what you do is you allow, you bring in the stability, you bring in the respect, you bring in the fact that they're going to do things the right way. And I don't care about winning the press conference. I really don't. Press conferences don't score touchdowns, kick field goals, or make tackles. We've won press conferences. That stuff is cool when it happens, but it gets old. At this point, the Jaguars, you know what they want? They want solid. Jaguar wants dad that goes to work every single day, works some hours of overtime, saves his money, has a 780 credit score, gonna do everything right, gonna get the family up, walk the dog. He knows how to fix everything. He doesn't have to call and pay people for repairs, because on his day off, he just gets on his roof, and if there's a leak, he fixes it. Wears overalls, gets a haircut once every 2 weeks. Make sure you eat real good and even get dessert, and you're in your bed at 8:30 at night, and he's going to wake you up in the morning as he's going to work. That's what they want right now. They want solid. They want suburbia. We don't need Hollywood. We don't need all of that. Because what we've been doing, the Jaguars have literally been living in the woods for 10 years. I'm going to tell you what I think they should do. It's going to sound like a broken record, but I'm going to tell you what I think they should do, and I'll do it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. I'm going to tell you what you need to do, though. You need to go to Bet Online, because they have you covered this holiday season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues to march through the college bowl season and the pro football playoffs. College football playoffs is coming up, too, and it's going to be real good. And Bet Online has the ability to be your number one spot for all of the sports action this season. That's because they have brand new interfaces and all new technology. So you need to head to the website to use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use promo code Locked On to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, boxing, UFC, all the way to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. So don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers. They're available right now, so do it. Go to BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you once again for making us your first listen here on Locked On Jaguars on a Monday. Unfortunately, again, you guys, as you guys already know, they lost the 26-21 to the New York Jets. Just a pitiful performance. The worst team in the league. Urban can say, he probably somewhere say, I told you that staff wasn't any good. Yeah, dude, you picked them. So, for all of those people out there that are pointing their finger and saying, see, it wasn't Urban's fault. Yes, it is. He wasn't alone. Michael Jackson had someone say, you are not alone. Urban Meyer, you are not alone. But you were driving the car, okay? This was on you. What should they do? I say that they should, as I've said before, change football operations. You see different models from around the league. You see the Patriots don't have a huge front office staff, but the Chiefs have a really big one. And the Jaguars front office has sort of been the size of the one that New England has. I think they need to change it. I think they need to get a huge front office. I think this needs to be a very scout-centric organization, because they have to stop missing on high picks. They have to also let and make people think. See, guys that do the business of football, whether it's agents or they know and players, they know the organizations that are dead serious. Like all of them want to be good. This thought that Shad Khan doesn't want to win is a joke. I've seen that man's face frustrated. We need to understand he doesn't know how to do it. He doesn't know how to do it. It's not that they don't want to win. Billionaires don't become billionaires losing. You think they want people talking about them the way that we all do? No, they don't. And I think people that use that narrative are probably as lost as they think Shad Khan is. No, you're wrong. He just doesn't know how to do it. Well, he's making money, so he doesn't care. He's going to make money if he wins, too. He's going to make money if he wins. The money's going to come, it's probably going to make more. He wants to win. He wants to win. Make no mistake about it. Man has been attached to winning his entire life. and you think he's willing to come here and stand here and watch his team get battered and be called, basically the armpit of the NFL, and you honestly think that he's okay with that, you're sadly mistaken because you're wrong. He just doesn't know how to get there. And sometimes I think he can't get out of his own way. And then I think sometimes when he does try to get out of his own way, he puts the wrong people in charge because of certain reputations and certain things. And I think that is the problem. So I think the humility that comes along with increasing your staff, having more people in that building, redoing your structure, and then going out and getting another general manager and going through this process with the new GM, the new senior president or vice president of football operations, new pro personnel people, and sitting there and doing the hard work and finding out who's the best fit long term. Now, here's the thing, folks talk about Jim Caldwell's age at 66. 66 ain't 66 like it used to be, but Caldwell is the sort of guy that if he puts certain things in place, you can build on those things even if he does leave 3 or 4 years from now. Because that's what he is. He's a structured, cultural type of guy. There's some coaches when you fire them, and the Jaguars should know that, because when they hired Gus Bradley, they never completely changed anything until Marrone left. They stayed on a losing culture and just kept adding to it as you go along. So imagine if you get a guy come here and totally turn this thing around and get them to 10-win territory, and then 3 or 4 years later says, okay, y'all, I'm out of here. You'll probably be promoting from within, or you can find someone in the coaching world who is very similar to that, where the culture is established. Now you can bring that guy in. The problem in Detroit is when they got rid of Caldwell before, they tried to bring in the whole Patriots thing, and Patricia wasn't that. Doug Peterson. I got to ask Mike Kay and other guys that covered the Eagles, how much of that was all Doug Peterson's fault? How much was, they had a lot of fighting in the organization. Sometimes it may not have been that guy's fault. Sometimes there were people who probably couldn't handle his personality. Or do you go after one of these up and young guys? You won't be like everybody else and go take whoever the next guy in line was under the Kyle Shanahan thing. I keep hearing people ask me, would you trade a number 1 pick for Mike Tomlin? I love Mike Tomlin. Which number 1 pick you trading for Mike Tomlin? You mean the first overall pick you own right now? Is that what you're going to do? And that's another one. When you keep talking about offensive coordinator, Mike Tomlin is a defensive coach. I just think all of these little tricky formulas and all of these little things that we try to attach everything to, we need to get rid of that stuff. See, it's that kind of stuff that allows you to make decisions that might not be in the best interest of your team. Get the best dude. Get the best coach. And part of him being the best coach is the guy who communicates real well. Part of being the best coach is the guy who can galvanize people and extract the best out of everyone, even people that don't play, who recognizes and appreciates scouts and recognizes that he can't be and do everything in an organization all at one time. He can't be the scout and be the quarterback coach and be the strength and conditioning coordinator. That's not what get the best coach that knows how to delegate authority and get people to do their job, and that can communicate well and understand where we need to go, and that understands the structure and all of the things and the culture that has to be around creating the best atmosphere for a young quarterback to be successful. We hold on to these little things and we make it all rocket science, when really what it's about is just get the best guy. You know a name nobody's mentioned? Dennis Allen. Yeah, I said it. Dennis Allen. If you told me that you were going to get the Saints defensive coordinator, who, oh, by the way, wouldn't be the first coach to fail in Oakland or LA or whatever they were with the Raiders, the coach that a lot of people love is Sean Payton. Sean Payton trusts the hell out of Dennis Allen. I got one for you. Hire Dennis Allen and then hire Joe Brady to be your coordinator and Pep Hamilton to be your passing game coordinator or whatever. I make you happy now? See, sometimes you got to think it's the off. Some of these hires could be off the grid. It ain't got to be the people that you keep thinking it's supposed to be. But I call Rand Carthon in San Francisco and I put him in charge of football operations, or call Mike Bradway or Ed Dodge or somebody, and I get off to a whole fresh new start with a fresh new coach. I would not have anything left over from the last 2 years. And Trent Baalke to me is like having leftover Thanksgiving food in your refrigerator on Christmas. You're gonna be on the toilet. You make me your first listen. I thank you for doing that. And you need to make Locked On Bets your second listen, especially with all of these people missing these games and guys sitting out. You need as much information as you can get. And your boy Q gives you that information along with analyst Lee Sterling on the Locked On Bets podcast. Make sure you check that out. Subscribe, like, and follow the Locked On Bets podcast wherever you get your podcast. All right, we'll come back to that you tomorrow, man, on a Tuesday. You guys continue to take care of each other, and I'll do the same. And let's get to this new year together. Take care.